Good morning and welcome to Talks on Tuesday, where we gather every week at 11 o'clock Pacific time on Zoom and repost on YouTube. And we talk about a variety of metaphysical, spiritual, consciousness, ideas, issues, and questions. And today, I have kind of a hodgepodge of stuff that seems to go together. One of which is I've been watching Rupert Sheldrake's YouTube discussions on morphic resonance, which is a pretty fancy word for the invisible communication between species and among species, whether flora, fauna, angels, or whoever, in an invisible way that seems mysterious, but probably isn't if we knew more about physics. And one of the books that Rupert Sheldrake is famous for is Dogs That Know When Their Owners Are Coming Home.
Right.
How do they get this information? It could be you've just left work and they haven't heard the car approach yet, but they kind of know. And you might even be coming at a time that's not your ordinary time, but they know. And he talks about a variety of experiments, one of which was a rat study in Russia where certain rats had been trained to go through a maze, and they found the smartest rats and they started breeding them together, but they also started breeding them with less smart rats. And they found that as they replicated this study around the world, rats who had never been through the maze before could go through more easily the more rats in Russia that did it, which I think is kind of mysterious. So there's that. There's also this study they did on transcendental meditation many years ago, where if a certain percentage of a prison population was involved in transcendental meditation, it reached a critical mass, but the violence level went down in that prison.
You hear that noise?
Yeah. Can you mute, Renee?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting a little feedback. And here comes Cecilia. There she is. Okay, Louis Therese is here, Gordy. I'm going to restart. Hi, and welcome to Talks on Tuesday. And today we are talking about a variety of strange phenomena that I started out talking about Rupert Sheldrake and his theory of morphic resonance, which has to do with communication and learning in certain groups of animals, that when it reaches a critical mass, other species not even in the same area are able to learn the same information or trick or maze. And also with transcendental meditation, there were studies that demonstrated that when a certain percentage of a prison population practiced transcendental meditation, it reached a critical mass so that the whole population became calmer. There were fewer violent incidents when even 10% of the population were meditating. There are lots of examples of this, but one thing that occurred to me is with consciousness, we talk about awareness, we talk about being in the moment, and I think I always forget that everything around me is conscious too, and it's probably very conscious of me at the same time as I'm conscious of it. Or even if I'm not, I'm walking through the forest and the trees know that I am, and the birds and the bugs. So it's just all of this invisible communication that's going on. And it kind of results in some strange phenomena. And I'm wondering if any of you have noticed that with your pets, family, knowing when someone's going to call you. What is all of this invisible communication that's going on?
Mary, is this the research they call like the 100th monkey or the 1000th monkey?
The Hundredth Monkey Theory, that when the monkeys on an island learned a certain strategy, I think it was for opening coconuts, they found later that monkeys on land who never had any association with these monkeys learned the same strategy.
Yeah. I always think of this in terms of reconnective healing. You know, there's a certain subset of us who are familiar with reconnective healing and what that brings in our life, and maybe even our influence goes beyond even people we come in physical contact with as a conscious whole.
Mm-hmm.
I believe I believe and twist my brain and see that. If I could explain it, probably not, but
Yeah. Well, I think this also relates to that idea. I'm trying to think who wrote the book, The Holographic Paradigm, but we talk about it in reconnective healing too, that we live in a holographic universe where each of us is a reflection of every other us. Does that make sense grammatically? No, but what I mean.
We understood.
Yeah,
That's great. Yeah.
Do you
Well,
mean-
go ahead.
Do you mean another person that you are on a different plane or a different dimension? Or did I maybe you can clarify that.
well, Chelsea, you and Cecilia teach this all the time. Why don't you guys address that?
Yeah. Okay.
The holographic effect.
the definition of a hologram, which is a picture of light, or you can also think of light as energy, but you maybe you see an image of light, but if you break up a piece of that image, that one piece still contains all the information of the whole. And we, in the reconnective healing training programs, we talk about, we like to put up on the overhead projector, the picture of maybe Princess Leia from Star Wars in holographic form. She's there in light, but if you break up a piece of her, she still contains all the information of the whole and everything you need to recreate what you broke up. So and you think of that as who we are as part of source. We all contain source. We are of source, and there we contain all the information, even if it's not. It's available on some plane.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And it just in the simplest example, if you have a little hologram on your credit card, sometimes an eagle or planet Earth or whatever, if you were to cut that up into pieces and then magnify them, you would not get like a piece of the eagle, you would get the whole eagle, because the hologram is reflective and every piece of it reflects every other piece. So as a universe, we are like a hologram. Maybe we are a hologram, but each of us is reflective of the other, and we are each other, even though we express individually in body. And that may be at the root of what this communication is about, that it may not just be about light, but it might be about sound as well, or ideas as well. We talk about, like, in the Renaissance, how was it that all of these people were suddenly enlightened, that we suddenly had 500 brilliant painters and growing in that time period? Or like with the invention of Velcro, 6 or 7 people applied at the same time for the patent that it had just appeared.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's explained with the Tiller-Einstein method that has been scientifically shared at the trainee programs for reconnective healing. It's like, how can all of these people at whatever level that they come in with, some completely novice, some master healers from other realms, whatever, how can everyone receive the fullness of what we're sharing for that weekend together completely and move into that space? And so, you know, Tiller had placed his instruments in the room and checked, and there was something showing up before we even get in the room. And so he theorized that by the time, you know, everybody shows up in the room, it's already present. The information is already there for all of us to receive all at once at the fullest level. And it's real. And so that's what happens at the training programs. And so there's your 100th monkey thing going on. Everybody
Nothing.
gets everything all at once.
Yeah.
They should make a movie.
Renee, you were going to say something? Maybe she's frozen. Well, I was going to share a little story of something that happened in Tuscany. Chelsea and Barb and I joined Eric Pearl and Julian Fleer in Tuscany for a retreat 2 years ago. And this weird thing happened to me. We had been meditating in the morning and I kept seeing the color green. And I thought, oh, that's pretty. That's pretty. And then after the meditation, we went out to walk through the olive orchard that was out there. And it was green and pretty. And I came across these wild herbs and I picked them up and I rubbed them in my hands and they smelled really good. And they were green. And then as I walked back to the meeting room, this woman I didn't know very well came up and handed me a big 4-leaf clover, which was green. So I went back in and I sat down and I tend to doodle and I started sketching this clover into my notes and my pen wrote green. It was a regular 69-cent Bic pen that had been writing black all morning and it wrote green for about, 2 inches and then it stopped, but it was the weirdest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, these things happen. And you don't know what to make of them. Does it mean anything? Does it not? Is it a message? We're always looking for messages and signs, but it's just like, oh, well, I was in green and so was my pen. It was the darndest thing.
Yeah. Beautiful. Absolutely. You're in the flow.
Yeah. So I don't even know if I have anything more to say about it, but
Well, what comes to mind for me is, when I think of myself, and I love the word illustration. And we talk about in our Solomon Speaks group about how my existence here as Chelsea is an illustration. And if I equate that with the hologram, I am part of the whole. I just really love what comes over me that it ties back for me that we are all worthy from the onset. There's no earning it or proving it or achieving it. Because we are part of the whole, we are worthy. And I wish that message resonated with a lot of people who are, I feel, searching for their worth.
mhm. We are all worthy. We are all capable. We are all
That'll be a brilliant, beautiful 100th monkey experience when, as a whole here, we understand our worth.
Mhm. And before we learn that we're flawed. Like when we're little children, we don't have a sense of limitation. We think we can do anything. And so I see these little toddlers using iPads because they don't know that they can't. You walk around, there's a 4-year-old flipping through and clicking, and holy cow, what if they believed that about painting and writing and reading, that they didn't need to stress it? We're all capable
Mhm.
and worthy and deserving.
And
We are
irreplaceable. I want to just add,
irreplaceable.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
We're
And
all irreplaceable, and that's not about our individual personalities or the way we present ourselves in the world. That is a very incredibly, I can't even think of how to explain it. It's so incredibly designed that every single one of us are part of this giant jigsaw puzzle
Mhm.
designed by the creator, source, love, whatever you want to call it. And there is no one other person that can fill your place in the giant jigsaw puzzle, or mine, or Cecilia's, or Julie's, or Chelsea's. We cannot be replaced. And that is something that I learned when I was laying on the ground, having been struck by a vehicle, that there was no one that could replace me. And it was kind of a very sad way to learn that, but it was really the moment when I discovered that I was worthy and loved and unconditionally, welcomed and accepted, and that there was no other person that could ever be who I was. So there was no competition anymore. And that's something that I think we learn really, really early in life, is to compare ourselves to everyone else and to see their outsides and to interpret that we don't quite measure up to them, and et cetera, et cetera. And I just think it's really important to understand that everyone brings value in some form, in a different form, and everyone brings perspective and has a way of seeing the world which adds to, contributes in a very unique and different way. So there's no better, less, bigger, more. It's all equidistant from the center, and I think that's the way it's designed to be. But we got a long way to learn to find that place where we all recognize that we are inextricably woven into the fabric of this wonderful, amazing, complex puzzle, and you can't take a part of it away without harming another part. So
well, it may
that's my
Yeah,
sorry.
a long journey though, if we consider reaching a critical mass of people who become enlightened, just like in the prisons. Maybe if there are enough of us who become more informed, raise our level of consciousness, are more loving, that it will affect the whole population. And maybe that's just our job here. And it's true that we're all individuals, but it's like we can define a snowflake scientifically. We know how it forms. We know how many points it has, what the process is for forming the snowflake, and yet each one is individual. It's this paradox. And the same with us. You're right. You are irreplaceable, and yet we're all the same.
Mhm. Yes, I do want to thank you so much, Renee. You hit on so many things, and I was, and I'm going to share a story because of that. Just recently, I don't know if you've read Marlo Morgan. It was
Mutant, something mutant.
yes, mutant message from down under, basically.
Yes.
And it was a beautiful story. It was on our must read list for many years. And in the story, it's there was she's taken with these indigenous people, and they're going on a walkabout, and she's learning a lot of different things on this walkabout in the story. And at one time, it was asked by the medicine man or whatever that if it's appropriate to have an opportunity to share healing with her, how we do healing. And so somebody had actually fallen off a cliff basically and injured themselves, and they were able to show her how they did healing energetically basically. And so it was interesting, and I had that thought in my head because we had just talked about it in Solomon. and I careful what you wish for because I said, you know, if it's appropriate, let there be an opportunity so I can experience healing for, you know, for others. And turns out that I was walking my dog, and all of a sudden I'm sliding and my knee hits, and I look and I'm looking on my foot, and gosh darn it, I slipped on a banana peel. And as soon as I saw that, I thought, this is hysterical. I'm like in a cartoon, because I've never heard of anybody slipping on a banana peel other than in cartoons. But anyways, it really basically just, it pulled my hamstring. It just made it very challenging to walk after that. And it was funny because recently I've been very involved with my family, and I've been doing some healing work because there's some issues going on there. And so what is interesting is that throughout this process going to assist with my family, we've been at the hospital a bunch, and my niece is a nurse, and so I've been able to see her in action. I thought, oh, that's so beautiful to watch her really know what she knows and stuff and do what she does. And it was just beautiful to watch her moving through about the room. And her brother is a personal trainer, and he, you know, was also just watching. And so this past weekend, when I come in and I'm limping because of my slip, he immediately comes right over to me. He's like, I can help you. And he starts, you know, putting me on, doing some stretches, and he starts doing this stuff with me, and he has me moving in different ways. And it's just like, he really took over. And I thought, that is just so beautiful, because I got to see her in action, and now I get to see him in action doing what he does best. And it was like, it was just beautiful. So the appropriate opportunity to receive healing was me to see him in action. It was so beautiful. It was like, wow. And it was funny because I've got, you know, I'm a family of 5 brothers and sisters, and my roommate knows that we joke with each other quite a bit. And as soon as she heard that I slipped on the banana peel, she said, they're going to have a field day with you. And I said, oh, I know, but I'm not gonna tell them until I see them, because I didn't want to pull focus on what was the major issue going on. And so, and then we're all together that day, and every one of them was just so supportive and nurturing. It's like nobody, you know, made the fun that they could have on this. They were just like, what can we do? How can we help you? It was so beautiful to watch everybody just rise up. It was like, wow, that was really an interesting experience of the 100th Monkey. Everybody just jumped in and did their best to make this better. So it was really fun. And I'm walking a lot better now.
And in the moment, we never like these disasters that overcome us. Like, oh my, we always have an opportunity to learn.
Yes.
And that's the saving grace. I mean, I remember when I took statistics, it was for me the mental equivalent of getting hit by a bus, because I'm not with that stuff. And it was just something I had to do, and the class came together and we got each other through it. There were only 6 of us in the class, but we were 100 monkeys. Yeah. Well, it looks like we are running out of time, and I actually don't have an official Zoom account, so it's going to cut me off soon anyway. But thank you all for coming. I love you all. And if you have any ideas for future conversations, let us know, or if you would like to be a guest host, that would be great too. We
Great.
will talk to you later.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Great.
Bye. Thank you.